Welcome back to AFTV, everyone. Welcome back to the full-time show. Arsenal have lost 1-0 at Nottingham Forest. That has confirmed Nottingham Forest's place in the Premier League next season. And it's also given Man City the title. Man City with 3 games left to play. I asked us to take them into the last week of the season. We didn't even take them into the last 3 games. I'm here with Lucy. Sorry, I keep hiccuping. I'm here with Lucy. We're going to talk about the game. But I think the wider discussion is away from the game and is more about the way we've ended this season and how we've played since we've come back from the international break. Lucy, how are you feeling? What's at the forefront of your mind?
I mean, to be honest, like I said off air, I don't really know what to say. I don't really know how to react to this. I feel like there was no momentum, and that is a key word that everyone's been saying about going into next season. We need that momentum. We need to have some sort of winning mindset. Right now, everyone's defeated. And I just feel like we need to go into next week at least slightly optimistic and take as many points as we can. Because
and we've killed that now.
We've said that from today. We were like, yeah, we need to take all the points. We obviously haven't. And I just feel like this defeatist mindset, if it carries on into next season like it does, because obviously I know you said earlier how people look at seasons as just the year, like they look at it just based on seasons, but it's about the transition and how what are we going to do this summer like that. This is what matters right now. What transfers are we going to get in? We saw a lot of injuries since like Christmas, since the international break. And it's like, how can we now fix that going into next season? Yeah.
Do you mind if I rant?
Honestly, be my guest. I feel like you're going to anyways.
And look, everyone in the comments, get your comments in. Download the AFTV Plus app and you can call in. That's the beauty of the show. You can call in, have your say. We're going to go to the comments very soon. We're going to go to your calls very soon because I really want to hear what you all have to say. I'm really disappointed. I tweeted something. I didn't know whether 5 minutes later I'd regret it, but I don't. I said that the players and staff should be absolutely ashamed of how they've ended this season. And I absolutely stand by that. I absolutely stand by that. That performance was a disgrace. That was an absolute disgrace. Just like the second half against Brighton last week, it lacked urgency. It lacked... When you're watching... Do you remember when we were 2-0 down to Bournemouth at home, yeah? And Bournemouth was defending quite well, and we were 1-0 down. And then they made it 2-0, and you're thinking the game's gone. But I was sat here on this desk saying, we can find a way back. Bournemouth are giving away leads, and we were playing the kind of football that showed me we were carving them open. We were getting through them. We could, if we kept going, we were going to get goals and maybe salvage something. But in the last 2 games, we haven't felt that at all. I want to park the Brighton first half aside because actually I think we did okay in that first half. But the second half last week and today has been an absolute disgrace. And when you look at that is a disgraceful run to be on when you're meant to be leading a title race and actually taking it all the way and actually making Man City work hard for it. So I'm just going to put these down here because I'm getting background noise. Arsenal, I know the title was basically done. I know we went into it not with any hope that, if we win, maybe put City under pressure. No, nothing like that. But the Arsenal fans still showed up. The Arsenal fans still turned up to support the team. We all still gave up whatever we're doing on a Saturday. Fans around the world but stayed up till whatever time, if you're in Australia or wherever, or some people have got up early to watch the game, whatever it might be. Arsenal fans around the world are tuning in to watch their team, hoping they play well and win. And I don't mind losing games when the other team have been better. That can happen. That can simply happen. But it's when you just throw in the towel. And I know Arsenal were camped in their half. And, we've got the stats on screen. They had 89% possession. And we had 717 passes. And we've had more shots. That tells you that maybe we were knocking on the door. No, we won't. We will run out of ideas. The players look mentally exhausted. But they look mentally checked out more than anything. By the way, they shouldn't be exhausted because they've had largely 1 game a week all season. Whereas our greatest competitors have competed on all fronts. Man United have had more games and they're ending the season stronger. It's an absolute disgrace to end this way. And I know that ultimately we can sit here, and we will, when we do the conclusion videos at the end of the season, we'll sit here and we'll go, you know what? Fair play. You came a long way. You scored way more goals. You got more points than I expected. You finished second. You actually led the season for a long way. That is fine. But you've got to end the season strong. The fans are turning up. The players have to turn up, and they're not. And I don't really look at Arteta. Maybe I should look at Arteta more because it's his job to motivate the players and have them ready. But the reason I'm taking it away from Arteta and putting it more on the players is that he has said the right things about wanting to end the season strong, about wanting to at least ask the questions to Man City. And the players haven't. I'm so disappointed because I've had nothing but pride in this team all season. And right now, I'm just furious with them. I'm absolutely, totally, and utterly pissed off with the way that they have ended this season and with the application that they have shown in these final few games. And let's just remind ourselves of the run. Sorry, Lucy, I'm off on one, but I just need to land. You can't end seasons like this. Every season ending like this. Lost to Forest today. Lost last week against Brighton. Credit, you won at Newcastle. And I thought that was Arsenal showing that they weren't going to roll over. They were going to make City work for it, even though they've had some bad moments. But no, it was just a one last hurrah to remind everyone that they're a good side. You beat Chelsea, cool. Everyone's beating Chelsea. Embarrassed at Man City, although that happened to Real Madrid. 3-3 at home to Southampton have been a disgrace. 2-2 with West Ham having been 2-0 up. And 2-2 with Liverpool having been 2-0 up in that game. So I count 2 wins in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Wait, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 2 wins and 8. That's how you end the season. Nothing else to worry about. No other games. Nothing else on your mind. No other stresses. That's how you finish the season. That is unacceptable. Lucy, I'm sorry. Jump in.
I completely agree with everything you're saying. I feel like it's the lack of passion, especially if we just forget about the whole season and we just focus purely on today. There was no passion, there was no want, no one was driving forward. I think, obviously, you can't really pick out a player of the match, if I'm being honest, but you mentioned briefly Ben White, and I feel like I agree with him. He had his moments where he was good.
I thought Ben White was good today.
And I feel like
he's the only one. And Jorginho
push it, it's positive play. That's the only thing I feel like we were missing out on, because Forest, where they did well, they were playing those direct balls, whereas we were almost acting like a yo-yo. Like, we were going forwards, then we come back, forwards, back, and no wonder we had more possession, because we weren't taking those risks. So just focusing purely on today,
that's a great point.
I feel like it just wasn't really working out, and then you wouldn't think that we're actually in second based on today's performance. Like, I don't feel like it's, like you said, the way we want this season to end. So we've got to do something pretty special next week to actually give some hope to the fans, who have actually got, like you said, been there week in, week out, supporting them, and the players just almost not having that urge, that fight to get it back, basically.
Yeah, and okay, we can win at Wolves next week. We probably will. We'll probably smash them. That's what we did to Everton last year when there was nothing left to play for. We just went, yeah, sure, Everton at home, cool. Last game of the season, we're going to smash them up. Look, there are positives. There are so many positives from this season, but today is not the day to talk about them. I'm not letting the players get away with another disgraceful 90 minutes in which they look devoid of ideas, in which they look tired. Why do they look tired? Why do they look tired? What are they tired for? Yes, there's been a lot of pressure on their shoulders. Yes, they're trying to do something Arsenal haven't done for 19 years, which is win the Premier League. But you shouldn't look tired. Today, there was no pressure. The season is done. There was no pressure today. It was turn up and match Forest for energy and remind everyone that you're a good side, you can play good football, end on 87 points, which, by the way, would be a point more than the Tottenham side that everyone talks about from a few years ago. Now we're going to end on less points than them. I care about these things. And I know ultimately it doesn't matter, but I do care about these things. You can't, after 19 games, be on course for 100 points. We're on course for 150 points at the halfway stage. Cool, we haven't played Man City. So swap one of those wins for that Man City. It's still 47 points in 19, because obviously we should have played that Man City game in the first half of the season. I get it. But still, to end it like this, we're not even going to crack 85. And I know, the nerdy statistician who's wondering about numbers and all that. My point is that when you get to these numbers that you're on course for, at least you're putting pressure on Man City. At least you're asking the question. When we beat Newcastle, we gave ourselves the opportunity to at least get to 90 points and sit there in the top 2 in Man City, side by side with them, going, fair play, you got your 95, but we cracked 90, and we had our moments in the run-in where we bottled it or whatever, sure, but largely we've had a really good campaign we can all be proud of. We can say we've had a campaign that we could be proud of, but we've ended it in such a damp, pathetic way that it just reeks more of the problems of last season, where we ended last season, rather than actually having that kind of stamp of, yeah, you had your errors, but largely we can all be proud because look at the season's work. It just, people focus more on the way last season ended and compare it to then, rather than compare it to something that demonstrates a title race and a pushing Man City to the end. We haven't pushed Man City to the end.
One key thing you mentioned earlier was being tired, and I feel like just in this game we were tired even when we had just come on the pitch. Like, if you look at all the subs, I don't think Eddie really touched it. When Xhaka came off, in my opinion, there wasn't really much difference because he didn't really have too much of an impact. And I think that's a shame for him, just looking at him as a player, because of his career, like, he's had his downs, but like, he's obviously ending it, like, all the rumours are out. And for him to end it like that, it's just like being subbed off. It's not where you want it to go.
It's all really kind of weak, you know. Tierney comes on. Well, he wasn't the answer from the start, but he started against Brighton. So now when we need a goal, we bring him on. Didn't really make a difference. Ødegaard, lots of looking busy, lots of darting around, shimmying, trying to look busy. And look, in fairness, he probably was at the heart of our best move or two best moves in the first half, but that was it. We've got a super chat from Gaurav, says that Gabriel Jesus is useless. He's not useless. Today he was poor though, absolutely appalling.
Should have been subbed at half time.
Gabriel Jesus. Nketiah had no impact, but I can't really blame him. There's so many more players to talk about. Bukayo Saka, I could tear his performance apart. Not because he was awful, but because it was pretty ineffective and he's meant to be one of our better players, but I'm not going to. You know why? Because of what Charles Watts tweeted, that he's played about 3,000 something minutes, 900 more than Man City's lead right winger, Bernardo Silva. He's got about 2,100 minutes under his belt. But Bukayo Saka's been overplayed. But again, people want to tell us, oh, what are you complaining? This is what it's about. Arteta says that players need to get used to playing 60, 70 games a season. Is that right? I don't know one player that's played 70 games as a starter week in, week out. And Bukayo Saka looks exhausted. Shock. Where else do we go? Trossard out on the left, ineffective, but I don't think he had much help. Everything went down the right. Partey at right back continues his awful end to the season. By the way, I don't think he was terrible, but he wasn't great. Gabriel, poor on the goal. Should be making that tackle. Ramsdale comes out and it's just too easily goes past him. Can I blame him? I don't know. Kivior, can't really say much about his performance. Granit Xhaka, ineffective. I mean, just poor across the board. As a collective, from manager to staff to players, the way they've let this season end is not good enough. And I expect Mikel Arteta to be having a similar rant in that change room as he did when we were last at Nottingham Forest in the FA Cup. And he said, when I lose my duels, I'm upset. That is not the standards I expect. It does not matter if second place is secured or whatever. The fans are still turning up and the players have to turn up for them. I'm so disappointed. I'm so disappointed in how the team have let this season end.
Could you almost argue that they've become complacent with it? Because I do feel like, even like what we said earlier with Arteta trying to mix up, like add more rotation, it wasn't willing, he didn't want to. It was only because of injury crisis we're suffering with and illness. So I feel like it was just being complacent potentially.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. But whatever excuse you pick, Lucy,
it's always an excuse. Yeah.
So if it's the players are still trying their hardest, but they're mentally fatigued and they're exhausted, and this season's been so taxing on them, poor guys. Well, that's unacceptable, because there are other clubs that have played far more football than us and look fresher.
It's their job at the end of the day. So, yeah. Yeah.
Jesus, in fairness, was injured, but he wasn't playing first team football for 3-4 months. Kivior's only just arrived. I mean, who else? Jorginho should be looking fresh. There's no reason. Partey's been out of the team the last 3 games. Trossard hasn't been a starter at Arsenal. So
just doesn't add up, basically.
It doesn't really. And then you talk about complacency, which is a fair question. It might be complacency, Lucy. But they just lost 3-0. Where's the complacency coming from? That's now 2 wins and 8. They came into this on the back of 2 wins and 7. What complacency? What in their minds made them go out there and think, this is fine. We can kind of stroll over the line because we'll probably be all right. What tells you that? You just drew 3-3 to Southampton. You just threw away a 2-0 lead to West Ham. You just got slapped up by Brighton in your own backyard in the second half. Where does the complacency come from? Now, I think it comes from Arsenal having lost confidence ultimately.
Yeah.
But you don't need confidence to just throw everything at it in a second half.
I think it's the fact that, like we've been saying a lot, we've got European football, we've got that position. So it's almost like we weren't going to lose that, but that shouldn't be a reason to not carry on, to keep fighting. And it does actually worry me, like talking about European football, about next season, like how is that even going to look for us? Because if you compare us to City, which I hate the comparison, but if you do compare us, they're just second to none. Like, they're world class. Like, they're able to compete. They're entering a final like with the best at Europe, and we're not even able to compete against teams that are relegated.
Yeah.
In the English football, it's just frustrating.
And the sad thing is that I'll still stick my neck out for this bloody team and say, we have been, for the majority of this season, we have been as good as Man City. That's why I really wanted the numbers to support it. I really wanted... How many games have we lost this season? Is that 6? We've lost 6 games this season. That's on 6 games. 6 times we've been beaten this season. We didn't have... This time last week we were on 4 defeats. At least that looks semi-respectable. You play 38 games, you lose 4. You only lose 4 of them. At least there's something to that. But I wanted the numbers to at least support what we know of this Arsenal team, that for so long of the season, when we had Jesus fit with Saliba at the back as well, we had our spine and Partey was playing well, we knew that we were a really good team. We knew that that we were a team that were worthy of chasing City all the way to the end. And now, without even kicking a ball, they are champions. It is done, because we cannot even reach 85 points, which is the tally they're on. And they're going to end it on 94 or something. I mean, this has been shocking. Let's go into super chats and everything as well. We're going to take your calls now, everyone. Sorry, I've been very ranty, but
I think everyone will be right now, to be honest.
I'm so disappointed. I'm so disappointed in this.
Because I think what you're saying about City, we are similar. Like, we have the technique, we have the ability, the energy when we want to. Obviously, today we didn't have any energy. But I think it's just their control they have. They have taller players, they're more control. They literally have a striker up top who's worth like 2 players. Like, they have that control. So I think next season we need to almost just develop that sense and like be familiar with each other. So almost too many rotations might be a negative. Like, I know we keep asking for that, but
yeah. But
honestly, it could go either way.
But rotation is a negative when you're rotating with players that you're confident in, and that all perform to a similar level. Rudy can't game with a super chat says, we wake up early to watch a sleepy team. Yeah, and fair play to you all who do get up to watch Arsenal week in, week out. And largely, let's be fair, I've had my rant. For most this season, they have made us proud to watch, and I've enjoyed watching Arsenal this year. I'm seeing more Arsenal shirts on the streets than ever before, and people are, and people who don't even watch football are saying to me, Arsenal are doing well, aren't they? Like, we've been a story this season for good and bad reasons, but for mainly good reasons. And it has been a pleasure watching this team. And I have no doubt that if we get the summer transfer window right, we can go again next year and compete on more fronts. And we can be a really successful side. I believe we're at the start of a journey. I don't believe this was just a one-off. I don't believe this was Liverpool under Brendan Rodgers and then it really fell away the year after. I don't believe it's that. I believe we're at the start of something really good here. But the players can't just throw in the towel like that. And I know that if we had the players here right now, they'd say we haven't thrown in the towel, we just lack confidence, or we haven't been very good, or credit to Forest defending, or whatever. But you can't tell me that they're playing with the same intensity and will to win that they were playing with pre-international break. You just can't tell me that. Or not even pre-international break, 2 weeks ago against Newcastle. 2 weeks ago against Newcastle, I saw more. William says, but where was that energy when half our fan base left the Emirates before stoppage time last weekend against Brighton? I don't know what you mean, William. Brighton destroyed us, and the players showed hardly anything. So, quite frankly, I don't blame most of the fans. I stay to the end personally. I always stay to the end. That's just me. But you got to start at the core, which is the players and the performances, before we start talking about fans. Fans have been brilliant all season. Don Robbie's death there says, sickly performance. I could handle some of the other losses, but this was beyond excusable. Just no excuses at all. Now my girlfriend's going to ask how the game was, and I'm going to have to answer. You and me both.
Oh, God.
And I'll have to say, I hope you've had a good day. I don't want to talk about it because it's too depressing. AJ says, at least we have a dog to cuddle. Yeah, at least we have a dog that will lift the spirits. Bigger fish to fry, my arse. Sideways Football FC, says Galrav. Yeah, and that's something that we've been very vertical this year. We've been very good at passing forwards. Actually, to be fair, we tried that into Jesus. There was no hold-up play, but normally we pick out players in pockets. We didn't do any of that. Ibby says, this is a capitulation. We gift wrapped City the title. We worked so hard to be 5 points clear. 12 teams have gained more points since April. 12. Yep, exactly, Ibby. 12. And I'm sure that a lot of those teams have pressure themselves. Maybe a top 4 to chase. Maybe a relegation battle. I don't know what. Maybe not relegation. Ibby, let me know in the comments. I'll look up for your comments. Is there anyone who's been in a relegation battle who's picked up more points? Surely not. Richard says, we can't keep saying for most of the season and we have pushed City all the way. We are going to finish 10 to 13 points adrift after being 8 clear. Richard, fair enough. I don't think you should ignore the context of how we've ended up in this position. I think because it's different to having been 10 points behind City all year and then we've just had a decent end to the season and we've ended up somewhat 10, 13 behind them. I think you've got to remember the context that we led the way for so long, but also acknowledge that that's what makes it so disappointing. Ricky says, let me go to Hassan's first. Sorry, Ricky. Hassan says, intensity was a huge factor for Arsenal's success this season. Every ounce of juice will squeeze out this team by April must strengthen the depth. But Hassan, you might have a point, but we were 2-0 up against Liverpool. We were 2-0 up against West Ham. The work was done. Yeah, we scored 3 goals at home to Southampton. That's not just about intensity. I get what you're saying, but that's about nerve as well. Ricky says, James, does this end of the season run impact anything? Potential signings or mindset going into next season? Well, you were raising that question, Lucy, about whether the end of the season impacts anything. I will say that we had a similar end to last season and we actually went on to have a really good pre-season. The players looked sharp. They responded to Zinchenko, Vieira, Jesus coming in, Saliba coming back, and they looked really lively. So does it impact next season? I'd like to think no, but I definitely think it impacts the way we reflect on this season. I do. I think it does impact that. All right, let's take calls. Let's just take calls because I can't really add much more. And Lucy, you're being
I just keep looking at the stats,
and
I'm just shocked. Like when you were saying all of that, I was just looking, and we're better in all of it, but it just didn't work out. I mean, obviously, watching it, you wouldn't think those stats were right. Yeah.
3 shots on target, waiting for us.
Honestly.
Production, talk to us. Let's get the callers we have. Let's get Ryan in. Ryan. Talk to us.
Lucy and James. Pathetic today, man. Pathetic. James, man, Arsenal have broken me within these last 2 months. Because let's be real, the title was gone well before this game, man. I know the title has been gone from a while, from last month, but I just wanted Arsenal to just play for pride, man. Give us fans something to cheer about and to at least think that we can end the season on a high, and then we kick on and we go again next season. From minute 1 to 90, Nottingham Forest, they won every last-ditch tackle. They were first to the ball. They were winning their second balls and everything. And we just wasn't up for it. Like, most of our players look like they're on the beach now, James, man. It's just the way how we played today. You would have thought we had won the league the way how we were playing today. It doesn't matter what result we get today. We'll just knock the ball about. It was just so sideways from Jorginho, Xhaka, Saka. Everyone was not playing to the level that I thought they would have put out today to at least give us fans something to cheer about. And to be honest, I'll say Ben White and maybe Jorginho can take something from that game, but everyone else for me was poor. And it's the fact, I look at the Premier League table now. I'm just at work as well, by the way. That's why you might see the background. But I'm looking at the Premier League table now, and what's so depressing is that we were 8 points clear at one point, and I know City still had that game in hand, but it's the way how we capitulated last month, and City still have 2 more games to play on top of all the last games that everyone's got to play at the end of next weekend. That's almost a 12-point swing, James, man. And you think to yourself, they're going to end the season on 95 points if they win all their last 3 games. They will beat Chelsea tomorrow. And if they win their last 2, they'll be on 95. And we only end the season on 84 points.
Yep.
Listen, I'm trying my hardest to get behind the manager and everyone. And I said it to Turkish on one of my fan cams when I called in on AFTV. And for me, I think Arteta's taken us as far as what he can take us. And for me, I can't lie, I'm Arteta out, man. Dare I say it, but I don't. And it all depends what the board do and how they back him in the summer with the required funds. But for me, I'm not convinced. It's not to say that I'm not convinced Arteta can take Arsenal any further, because the Premier League is going to be a lot harder next season. And
but he got us this far. Did you think? Look, I've been on the team. I've been on the team for today. I've really had a proper rant.
Yeah.
Paul Housey's just had to let me
the players
just
are
go off it.
well. Yeah.
But this is my thing. Okay, so you say Arteta out, and I don't think it's a very good pattern at all that we have ended both this season and last season so wimply. But he got us here. Like, I've got to believe that, like he learned from losing at Brentford last year, losing at Tottenham last year, losing at Anfield so badly, you know, all these things, and come out with better results. I've got to believe that with better players and another year's experience, he can get better, surely.
Mm-hmm. He can get better, but my only counteract to that, though, James, is that what's worrying is the points of what you've just said there, and I agree with what you said, but it's like, if I look at the last 10 games of last season and I look at the last 10 games of this season, they're very similar patterns of our drop-offs of performances. And it's like, we're not learning, we haven't learned in the crunch moments. It's like, for me, when the pressure's really on, Arteta cracks, and it's not just him, the players. You're always, put it this way, a team is always a reflection of their manager in terms of how they perform and how you set out the team tactically and everything. But I look at last season when we bottled top 4 to Tottenham, we lost to Crystal Palace, Brighton, and it was Tottenham as well, and
Southampton
Newcastle,
as well in there. Yeah,
Southampton and
Newcastle
that ended our top 4 hopes. And then I look at this season, and from Anfield, yes, we were disappointed with that, but then I look at West Ham, Southampton, obviously we've lost today, and then Brighton last weekend. It's a very similar pattern, James, and it is. But okay, but hold on. Sorry to cut you. I'm so sorry to cut you, because I think this is really important. When we lost to Palace, we were blown away. We were awful that day. And then we lose at home to Brighton, crap defending, and we threw it away. And then Southampton, I was at that game. I actually didn't think we played as badly. We lost 1-0. We didn't show enough invention, whatever. This is very different. And I know the run is very similar. But the reason I pull this away from Arteta and I place it squarely on the players is whatever Arteta got them out there to do against Liverpool, for example, at Anfield, it worked. We were 2-0 up. And then we go to West Ham and we're 2-0 up after 10 minutes. So he has set them out with the right patterns of play, with the right coaching, with the right mentality, and they've gone and taken leads in those games. And then against Southampton, which was so disappointing again, look at the Ramsdale error. Look at the gaps. But I don't know, he could have done other things. He didn't need to play Rob Holding. And we've now seen that he's learned from that, like the fans were saying. So there's no doubt he could have done other things, for example, to make it better. But ultimately, Arsenal have been in positions against Brighton, that first half, we had the better chances. I wouldn't say we were all over them, but we were the better team. We were pressing well. We were nicking the ball, and we could have gone in at half-time 1, and then they capitulate. These players have to learn and grow up. Don't get me wrong, James, the players have also let Arteta down as well. It's not just on Arteta, but I also look at Arteta's man management, his in-game management, his player management, knowing when to tweak it. When you can see after the first, once it gets to the 60th minute mark and you think, all right, it's not working down the left-hand side with Kiwior, because we actually played with a back 3 today. And I just look at certain games and I just think to myself, he's not proactive enough. You look at all the elite managers, when you look at Pep, like Carlo Ancelotti, the top managers, when the going gets tough and you need to make tactical substitutions to benefit the whole team, it's like Arteta is very naive, and his stubbornness really reflects on the way how sometimes we play as a team. And don't get me wrong, he has adapted in certain games throughout the season, because we have won a lot of tough games as well during the course of the season. We've won at Tottenham. We've done the double over Chelsea this season. We lost to Man United, but we've won a lot of big games as well. But for me, it's still the Man City and the Liverpool away games where it comes to in-game management and knowing when to be a lot more streetwise. And yes, that will come because I know we are still a very young side, but I look at other factors as well, James. I don't like the way how we've thrown away cup competitions this season. Like we haven't won a lot of trophies in the last 3 to 4 years, bar Arteta winning us the FA Cup. And who are we to just say, oh, we'll throw away the FA Cup this season?
I agree.
We'll throw away
Listen,
Europa League.
I agree. I let's bring Lucy in this. Sorry,
I'm
Lucy.
just fuming with it.
We've been going
Sorry,
back
I'm
and forth.
fuming.
But what do you make of that very point about throwing competitions away? Because I didn't want to go out the Europa League. I wanted to go full strength in that. And he went pretty strong, but I wanted to go full strength and actually go through. I wanted a proper FA Cup run. I wanted to go into that Man City tie away from home with a full strength side. I wanted to beat Brighton in the Carabao Cup and try and go further in that. I mean, do you think that's impacted our season at all?
I mean, I feel like you need to separate the league from like other competitions, definitely, because you notice that when teams play in cups and stuff, they use different lineups, which is completely understandable. So I feel like if we focused heavily on cups, we could have weakened our team and maybe even not got second. So I do feel like in that sense, it's good kind of the way we went about it.
Yeah, it's a catch-22, yeah, but it's also, I get what you're saying, but why? Like, why does it have to be one or the other? I mean, I grew up watching Arsenal. We just played in all comps, except for the Carabao Cup. It's the only time Wenger would.
I feel like it's injuries as well, like playing a lot and everything. We're getting players injured, and then they're out for more than just one game a week.
Lucy and James, I actually got a question for you two. Do you think that our January transfer window has definitely had an insignificant effect on this second half of the season as well? Because I think us not bringing in 2 to 3 more players in January to really strengthen. I was so gutted and annoyed when we didn't get Caicedo over the line, because I look at Caicedo in our midfield alongside Thomas Partey, and automatically I think we're a lot stronger and we have more of a protective base. Whereas I'm not discrediting what Jorginho's done. He's a very tidy player, Jorginho. He'll keep the lines ticking over. He'll pass between in the lines and stuff. But I just think to really have kicked on, we should have brought in a Caicedo and possibly another right winger, because Saka is, for me, he's played too much football, and it's not even just for Arsenal. The amount of games he plays for England on international duty as well. And I just think Arteta could have managed him a bit better there. I look at what Pep Guardiola does, and yes, I know Man City have a bigger squad than us, so they've got more quality and strength and depth in certain areas. But I just think to myself, could Smith Rowe have come in for a few games and given Saka a rest? Could Trossard have come in a lot early in certain games? Because Saka, we're quite predictable on that right-hand side now, and I think quite a few teams have figured our style of play on that right-hand side, and that's where I then look on the manager to maybe tweak things a little bit. But I don't know what
I'll let you take this one.
I was going to say,
January.
Yeah, no, I feel like they haven't had too much impact. Like what you're saying, there's quite a bit of space in the midfield that we definitely need to work on. Even like Smith Rowe coming in today, I think Jesus, that would have been a better option. Definitely just mixing it around, but it is, I feel like it's almost like there's a lack of money or whatever. I know obviously when you're comparing to City with all their charges, like it's obviously incomparable, but I definitely do feel like we've got maybe less players on the pitch, it feels like sometimes, and like Jorginho trying to push forwards, but we've still not got the people to like run down the lines and everything. So I definitely agree that it's not been the best, but I think our focus should almost shift to like this summer transfer and be like, okay, what can we take from that? And now take in, like, we need midfielders, we need those attacking players, but also we need that solid defence. Like there's a lot of gaps, but definitely use this one.
Mate, pleasure to chat to you. Thank you so much for joining us.
James, take care. Lucy as well. Hopefully we kick on next season.
Yeah, well, I'm sure we will. In my frustration, I do think we will. Comment from Jean Ren, hope I pronounced that right, says, James, do you really believe we threw away the cups? That's a lazy narrative in my opinion. Jean, I think it's a fact. Listen, I know everyone's got their opinions. I hear that. I don't really want to just put things out there and say it's fact, but you know, we didn't go full strength against Sporting, and over 2 legs we couldn't beat them once. You know, we were 1-0 up in both legs. We went 1-0 up, and that I can't help but feel we threw them away. Maybe Arteta didn't. Maybe he put an 11 out there that he had to rotate, but still felt was strong enough to win those games. But he brought Gabriel and Saliba. So I keep hiccuping. Sorry. He brought William, Saliba, and Gabriel into the starting 11 for the Sporting second leg, and we still end up sort of drawing that game and not getting it over the line. You know, and he had rotated in other areas. So yeah, I feel like he did throw that one away a little bit. The Carabao Cup, I can't remember our 11. Let me just have a little look if I can find it. Arsenal won 3, Brighton, Carabao Cup. But from what I remember, yeah, he didn't go full strength. We only had a couple games. I think we only had one more game before the World Cup. Let's have a little look. Lineup. Yeah, Karl Heinz started. Cedric, who's now gone off on loan. Kieran Tierney, who's barely fancied. El Neni and Lokonga, with Vieira, Marquinhos in the team as well. I mean, yeah, he did throw that away. He didn't go as strong as he should have, really, for that competition. And then the FA Cup, where we had Man City away, and there was a very good chance they were going to go full strength, and they did. We didn't go full strength ourselves. So, look, whether it's fair to rotate is one question, but ultimately, I don't think anyone can deny that he didn't give his all in the other competitions. And I understand you've got to rotate, but can you rotate in the league a little bit? Were there home games where he could have pulled Saka out and he could have mixed it up in a different way? You know, could Rob Holding have played a few other home games? Oh, maybe not, to be fair, actually, because I've been a critic of Rob Holding playing. We're going to go through the super chats and we'll go through more callers. Ibby says, so we got 9 points from the past 8. Forest got 10, West Ham got 10, Bournemouth got 12, Wolves got 13, Palace 14. Shocked me when I saw the form table. Ibby, I'm going to screenshot that. Yep, I'll screenshot it. That's an amazing super chat, and I'm going to check that, but that's fantastic stat. Well, it's horrible to read, but it's a great stat.
I was going to say, I don't want to read that one.
So thank you, Ibby. And actually appreciate you didn't have to super chat it back in, but thank you that you did. I really appreciate it. Kay Kerber says, Arsenal, mediocre club as far as I'm concerned. How can they finish this bad and they're not playing in Europe? We're not a mediocre club, but it's been a poor end. Anthony says, Arteta to stay. Definitely, but can't hide it. We have absolutely bottled it 2 seasons running. When it came down to the business end, we need investment. I agree with that, Anthony. Carl says, playing for first and fourth, we clearly have learned from last year. Second after recruiting without Champions League for 5 years and eighth places. Saying Arteta out is weird. Look, I'm not Arteta out. Of course I'm not. I'm really excited he's built, and you make a great point. It's a different platform. This time we've bottled a title race rather than a race for top 4. But at the same time, Carl, similar trends. You know, it is easier to play your football in the middle of the season when everything's nice and you're just playing your football and, you know, you've got confidence and momentum and there's still a lot of games if things go wrong. As things hit crunch time, we weren't good enough. And that's happened for 2 seasons in a row. All right, let's get some more callers in. Who's joining Lucy and I now? We've got Steph. Hey Steph, how you doing?
Hey guys, how are you guys?
Yeah, disappointed. I imagine you're feeling the same.
Very much so. It shocked me the 3 at the back. I'm not gonna lie. I was not expecting him to go 3 at the back, especially having no Martinelli, because I was surprised the way Trossard played as well. Trossard came a lot into the middle, and I think that played into Forest's hands. A lot of our play was through the middle. Partey playing on the right, where Ben White normally is. Ben White normally finds Saka overlapping or finds Jesus running into the channel. It felt like everything was going to the middle. And I mean, personnel-wise, it could have worked because there was a lot of space. We did have a lot of the ball, but I think personnel-wise, the players-wise, they didn't want it enough, and there was no directness. I thought Saka wasn't direct enough. Trossard wasn't direct enough. Kivior didn't run with the ball forward once. Gabriel couldn't push forward with the ball. Ben White, even though he was good, there was no movement in front of him. So it just like majority of the game, he just stood with the foot on his ball, with his foot on the ball. Yeah. It was poor, in my opinion. Very poor.
I agree. Do you echo that idea that there was just a lack of fight and intensity? Yeah. Did the players look to you like they wanted it as badly as? I'm not even saying the fans wanted it really badly. You heard Turkish; he was very relaxed, but at the same time, and I felt that same way. But it's on the players to pull that out of us, and it's their jobs to finish as strongly as possible. The fans have still gone out to support them.
Well, you even saying like when Eddie came on, we were like, okay, there's going to be a bit more fight, a bit more physicality, and there was just nothing there. Even Saka, actually, in the beginning, give him credit, he did try a bit, like he was pushing forwards, but it's just nowhere near. And when you haven't got that support around you, like what you were saying down the wing, it kind of just, it doesn't work out.
Yeah. You know what also shocked me? I'm surprised Fabio Vieira. I mean, I don't know what happened with Reece Nelson. I don't know if you guys could tell me that. I was very surprised he wasn't in the team at all.
He missed it. He's unwell.
Oh, he was unwell. I really thought we missed Martinelli and Reece Nelson because the impetus, we really needed some impetus down the wings, especially. I heard on the commentary, you guys aren't able to listen to commentary, but they said Aurier didn't put a foot wrong. Nobody ran at him. Or I didn't think Aurier really did anything. I don't think anyone really. I think Warrow was pretty good for them, But other than them, like they didn't really do anything. They had one attack, like a few shots, barely any. They were just sitting back and defending most of the time. And I thought that was poor from us because I think we can play better than that. When we started to find ourselves and find our rhythm come right before the goal, Odegaard was starting to get on it. Jesus started to move around. They started to get on it. They started to link up that side a bit well. Partey started to look forward. It went straight away since Odegaard gave away that goal in the middle of the field. Everybody's head went down. And it surprised me the way they reacted to that because for the majority of the season, we've seen them fight and show character, especially late in games. These last couple of games, I've seen them just exasperate at the end, and it's kind of shocking to me. I really wasn't expecting a performance like that.
I agree.
Especially.
And I've been backing this team for their mentality. I've been backing them for their fight.
And I have been backing this team. And you know what? I've been telling my brother, and I've been telling my brother is a Tottenham fan, actually. My brother is a Spurs fan.
Well, so you both had a bad day because they're shocking. I mean, they're shocking.
He really can't tell me anything.
Yeah.
But I told him to win, even in the running. I said, Arsenal can to win this league over the last couple of seasons we've seen. City is not going to lose 5 games. We lost to City home and away. Look at the other losses we lost. We lost to Man United away. We lost to Brighton at home. We lost to Forest today. We lost to Everton away. Poor performance. Like, look at these games. I understand. Losing to opposition. I understand if we lost to Liverpool. I could take an Anfield loss, but I can't take those losses. We can't be losing these games if we're going to be.
That's a great point. That's a great point because had we done our job last week and this week, you look at those because it's about analysing the results. You look at the 4 defeats. You go, well, twice against Man City, cool, they're better than us. Once at Old Trafford, that can happen. Once at Goodison, and you actually come away from it going, you know what? It's frustrating. We didn't have enough. But when the going got tough,
on the chin.
Yeah, we drew games, we didn't lose them, and we didn't quite have enough. But this has been an absolute capitulation. But Steph, you've been fantastic. Thank you so much for joining us. Please do call back again. Thank you, mate.
Thank you.
We're going to get our next caller. Harry Law with a super chat says, now this is the time to support the team when it's hard. We are still the second best team in the league, and Arteta is overachieving with these players. Harry, that's sure. Like I don't disagree with a lot of that, but we've got to talk about this game now. I get what you're saying, you know, but we are supporting the team. I've said that I believe that this is the start of an era and they will come back next season stronger with better players and they'll go again, they'll learn from it. I've said all these things, but we have to talk about the here and now. Man City today they have won the title. It's done. They are the champions because we couldn't do our job. Because since they last kicked a ball, we have lost 2 games in a row. And that's not okay. I hear what you're saying. The sentiment's right. But it's a chat for another day, in my opinion. Especially because we've spent so much of this season crediting the team for how well they've done this year. Let's go to the next caller. Who wants to join? Deanie.
Good evening, Lucy. Good evening, James.
How you doing?
Well, I actually don't know where to start. You know what? I'll start at the Bournemouth game. Because that was my first ever Premier League game, and watching that game, watching us come back from 2-0 down, to win the game 3-2, I genuinely believe. I genuinely believe that this was it because, like these players have been showing us all the season, they will never give up, and I believe that because that's what they showed us. That's exactly what they showed us.
Yeah,
and
they did show us that.
I think who made a quote about, so I think it was either Odegaard or Arteta, and there was like, and this was either around the time where we first lost to Man City. I think this is when it was, and there was like, it's easy to support us when we're winning, and we want you to suffer with us. Well, it's so easy to run around the pitch when you're winning games. It's so easy to do that. No, you have to keep going because it's you lot that's getting paid the grands and grands in a week, and it's us fans that come in to watch you, support you every season. We take the slack, we take all of it, we take everything, we take all of it as a club. But what we've done in the last few weeks is just, I was embarrassed last week. I don't know how I feel now because this morning I tweeted, I said the bare minimum, finish the season on a high, get the 2 wins. We know Nottingham Forest are fighting. Just don't let it happen. And I said, the last thing I said on that tweet is, we cannot We cannot hand the league to City before they even kick a ball tomorrow, and that's literally what we've done. It's like we've climbed the mountain. We've literally climbed Everest, and all we need to do is get to the top. And for some reason, we just slipped. And it's like, why? Wait, I just don't know what to say. I'm usually more positive than this, Lucy. I promise you. Usually more positive than this, but honestly, it's so disappointing. I'm so disappointed in the players because in the games where it comes to like West Ham, Southampton, Liverpool, Brighton, let's just talk about those 4 games. And to be fair, James, you said it eloquently yourself. We had control in those games. This is why I'm not really even blaming Arteta right now.
Exactly. There's people in the comments who, sorry to cut you, there's people in the comments who are getting it's a classic trolls or people who've got nothing better to do with their days who are going, oh, James is, this stupid word, Arteta sexual or whatever. And then people going, oh, James loves Arteta, we'll never blame him. How can I blame Arteta? And I'm not saying Arteta's faultless, right? He recognised too late that Rob Holding was a problem, even though some of us called it out and the rest of the fan base said, how could you blame Rob Holding? How can you blame Rob Holding? But Arteta clearly saw he was a problem because he ended up playing Kivior. And guess what? We go to Newcastle and we win and play really well with Kivior there. My point is, though, in a lot of these games, it shouldn't be on Arteta's coaching to beat Southampton. And we were ahead against West Ham playing brilliantly. We were ahead against Liverpool playing brilliantly. So this is why I can't look at the manager. That's not to say... And also we played well in the first half against Brighton and we should have been ahead going into that game. And the second half they collapsed after they conceded a goal. Kivior's on the floor holding his foot. Like, I can't... That's not to say Arteta hasn't made errors. But let's look at the bigger problems. The players haven't stepped up to it when it mattered. Except for Martinelli. The only one.
That's literally it. It's the mentality, and these players, they need to be. I think some of them should be quaking in their boots in the summer because I wouldn't be surprised. Maybe this might be too much, and I'm just feeling how I'm feeling. But I wouldn't be surprised to see some surprise exit this summer.
I agree.
Going into next season, Champions League. If you want to be in these competitions and win these games, you have to give your all. Every minute, every second that you were on that pitch. I heard what you said earlier about. What did they say? Arteta wants these players to play 60, 70 games a season, that they have to be fit. If these players want to win a quadruple, you have to be playing 60, 70 games a season. If that's what you want to do, if that's what you're here to do, then you need to do different type of fitness in the summer. You have to be on top of your eating. You have to be sleeping right. Everything else that is in your life, you need to focus on the football because that is your job. You are paid to do, and they haven't done their job. It's just sad. It's so sad. It's a dull end to the season. We deserve so much more. But then I'm thinking, do we deserve anything right now? The way we've just capitulated. And I think that's the first time I used this word this season, capitulation. Because all season I've been like, you know what? Let's wait and see because this team has been young. Arteta is young, but I'm sorry. If you lot want to be on that pitch and play for Arsenal next season, this cannot happen because. If it happens again, if league judges are saying we've done it again, then I'm sorry. It has to be a revamp because it's not good enough. It's not been good enough.
It's a fair question.
Yeah.
Deanie, appreciate you joining. I really do. And you've made some good points.
I'm always here. I'm always here.
Always a pleasure.
I'm always here.
Take
pleasure, care. Man. Enjoy the rest of your time. Take care.
In a bit, my friend. I got Ashley Wilson in the comments. James, please, you are like Robbie. You will always back a shit manager, Arteta. He is no manager, just 3 years. Okay, I'm not going to read the rest. And we all think... Okay, well, I'm going to read... Ashley, the point is, AFTV Plus is free. Go download the app. Go jump on FANZONE. It's all free. It's all free. Come, and we can chat about it. Same for... I hope I'm pronouncing this right. Shavon, hope I pronounce it right. It says James kiss up to Arteta too much, tired man. Cool. Jump on Fanzo, come talk it out. If you want to have like respectful discussion in the comments, that's fine. But I've been critical of Arteta. It's not my fault if you've missed that. I've been critical of Arteta. Do you feel like, where are you with Arteta? Like, what does he have to do next year to feel like we're still progressing forward and he can be the man that wins us the title?
See, it's really hard because I do feel like all the negativity that all of those comments are saying, it's hard when you look at how far we have come. Like last season 69 points and now we're above 80 points. Like we are coming far, and he is a big factor for that. I do feel like he needs to not be so hesitant with his decisions, and like especially rotations. He needs to make them a lot quicker, because like you said with Holding, that was a bit too delayed. We're not sure if that would have made an impact necessarily sooner, because
true. We
don't know. But in that moment it did, and it almost, like, just try things out, experiment. We've got now a whole summer to just experiment with everything. Pre-season, I think that's where we can, like you were saying as well, people were more prepared, like the players were more prepared this season following pre-season, like getting Zinchenko like comfy in there. So we need to almost just do that again, get all the players comfy,
Get the signings in quick.
Yeah, definitely quicker. Like we don't want any end of August, like we want them sooner so you can get comfy in the team.
Yeah, that's very true, and it does sound like Arsenal trying to do business quickly. All right, let's get our final caller of the day, Jamal. Hey Jamal, how you doing?
Oh, hi guys.
Welcome. How are you feeling?
Terrible, obviously, because I was on last week's FANZONE, and they asked me like what I expected. I wanted the boys to go out with pride, get 6 points, and just we ball the league. It's a tough one to swallow, but not like this. This is embarrassing, and this legit like activates a little PTSD from previous years when we would just bottle at the end of the league, and we would go with a whimper. So I'm very disappointed. I would have expected more from the boys. But at the same time, like I said last week, I'm not very surprised, because they've been fatigued for a long time, and they didn't get reinforcements in December.
But why are they fatigued?
Because I think they mentioned it last week. He keeps playing the same 11. He doesn't really rotate the players. They mentioned last week. They had Reece Nelson. They got Nketiah. They got. I know Vieira needs to improve his physicality, but he's there to be used. And he doesn't trust maybe his squad players enough. He doesn't trust them as much as he should, and that's been his downfall, because he plays the same 11 every week. I would have expected like Nketiah to get a start this week, or someone else like Vieira to get a start this week. I know Martinelli's injured. You guys mentioned Reece Nelson is unwell, but I would have expected Arteta to just, now that he has nothing to lose, experiment a little bit, try something different. But it was the same starting 11 as it was last week, and not very much surprising. And I think that if we are going to win the league next season, he's going to have to trust his squad players more. Maybe he doesn't trust the ones he has now. Maybe he has to buy some more fringe players in the summer.
Exactly what you're saying.
Like, the thing about Man City is that they're in abundance, and so are Chelsea, who are in abundance of like great players. They don't have a good manager right now, but they will next season. But we need to be in abundance of good players. I feel like Arteta, maybe he doesn't feel like he has that privilege, or that what's the word I'm looking for? He doesn't have that the abundance of good players that maybe a Man City have. Maybe that's why he doesn't trust squad players as much. So he needs to go out there and reinforce in the summer, because people forget we're in the Champions League next season, and man, oh man, I don't want another repeat of 5-1 at the Allianz, 5-1 at the Emirates, another Monaco. That it's one thing to go out like this in the league, but to go out in the Champions League after like 5 years of not being in there, and if something like
teams,
this happens there, bro, that I don't want to swear. That stuff is embarrassing, and it's a tough one to swallow. It's a tough one to swallow this season. But I'm hopeful for the future. Like I know right now it sucks. Like right now I'm just dying inside. Yeah. But I'm hopeful for the future, because I think that I've heard good news. I heard he has like 300 million to spend or something crazy like that, which 5 years ago or 10 years ago would be like insane money. But now it's like 300 million, bro. Like, that's like chump change compared to what these guys got, like the Saudis, the Qataris, and like if Man U get their takeover, and like Chelsea with Todd Bowley, who are just like Venture FC out there, bro. So 300 million, but it is, it could be more. But
let me ask you about something very quickly. Aaron Ramsdale, in an interview after the game, said that he says, deep down we know what we have achieved. When the dust settles, we'll be proud, but this is a learning curve for us. It is a season to be proud of for Arsenal. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, man. Yeah, everyone has that story. Every great team, every great sportsman, every great manager, they have that dip in form, or they have that one season where they look back and like, yo, I had to like, embrace the suck there to become who I am now. And that's why I'm very hopeful, because the Arsenal team are still young. They're still mad young. Saka's still mad young. Martinelli, He was like countryside player of the year in Brazil when he bought him. Look at him now, 2 seasons in. So they've got room for improvement. So that's
Absolutely,
the good thing
they
about
do.
them. They're not an aging squad. It's not like Inter Milan where it's like, yo, this is like the last dance for these guys. The Champions League is like make or break for some of these players. It's like this is still early days for these guys. They can take this pain. They can grow from it, and that's they're still young. That's how you mature. You mature through pain. You mature through going through these trials and tribulations. That's why I'm very hopeful for the future. And I've been through this so many years, man. Like I've been watching Arsenal for so long. I'm thinking like 2009 Champions League semi-final when Wenger was coming in. Remember those days when Wenger would come in a little bit arrogant and he'd be like coming in with a smirk, and then we got whipped by Man U in the Champions League semi-final, like the Monaco knockout stage. Remember, we should have gone through there. We bottled that. The season when we got Ozil, we didn't get Julian Draxler that season, and not to say that Julian Draxler was a world beater, but when you buy a world-class player, right, or a player who's like on par with one of the best in the world, it doesn't just improve your squad like on a lineup basis. You're playing with that guy in and out every single training ground. Other players see that and they can't help but to like latch onto it or get drawn to that and like make them want to raise their game. So getting Drax that season would have helped, but we didn't. And now this is just another one in the books where you're like, okay, Arsenal aren't the finished product, but I would have never dreamt to be in the title race this season. I would have been settled for top 4, maybe a Europa League, and he's exceeded expectations. And that's one thing that you can give Arteta credit for and this team for.
No, that's true. That is true.
They would have raised, like, we would have taken top 4. Like, I remember the early season predictions. Robbie put us at like 3rd maybe, or 4th. They've raised our expectations. We went from like being really angry about bottling top 4 at Newcastle last season to being really, really, really vexed for losing out the league to Man City, And we didn't lose out the league. We practically gifted it to them. It was in our hands. So, like Aaron Ramsdale said, Ramsdale, what he said might be very true, and I hope his words do come into fruition, and I hope we do win the league next season, but we got to spend money. We got to get the dead weight out of here, and I don't want to call them dead weight, they're professionals, but we got to get the players that Arteta doesn't want out of here.
No, I agree, mate.
Jamal. Okay.
No, sorry, that's all good. Sorry, we need to round off the show. We've got some super chats coming through as well and some final comments. But you're right, there's a lot of work to do in the summer, and we've come a long way. But Jamal, pleasure to chat to you, mate. Thank you so much for joining us.
Hey, I'm gutted just like you guys, but yeah, just like last week, I want to give you guys your flowers. Been watching you for 10 years.
Thank you.
You guys
Appreciate
the
it.
shit out of us, and I appreciate everything you guys do, man. Have a good one.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it, man. Thanks for joining us. Yeah, look.
I rate the positivity a lot, like going into next season.
Yeah.
So it's good to look at.
That is right. Look, that Ramsdale quote for me, I just think just not the right time to talk about what we've achieved this season. Yeah, well, what we've achieved. Oh, you know what? Let me not. I don't want to.
We'll start this again.
Just because I do love this team, but Arteta needs to drill into them that this is unacceptable. And I have a feeling, based on nothing but some of the interviews and some of the whatever, I have a feeling there's a little too much of we're just happy to have been up there. And I don't think that can be the case going forward. For one season, you exceeded expectations in that you were in a title race we didn't expect. But from next season, it becomes the norm now. We challenge for titles, and then when we don't win them, there's an inquest as to why. We have no divine right to win titles, especially with how good Man City are. But when you're falling out of other competitions so lifelessly, then there is going to be more eyes on the things that, okay, you put your eggs in this basket, so why didn't get over the line? But there is going to be plenty of time to talk about how brilliant Arsenal have been this season, and we will do that in as soon as the season's over. We'll do our player of the year. We'll talk about the highs, the lows, or whatever. But right now, that performance was unacceptable, and I'm not really prepared to forgive him just yet. Final super chat. Rye says Arsenal missed Marte today, especially on that left hand side. He's a lot more potent than Trossard. KSE had ambition, they'd sack him. I'm sorry, James, but he's bottled too many things for me. I disagree, Ryan, but you're entitled to your opinion. Thank you very much to everyone who's in the comments. Lucy, thank you for joining me.
Well, it was a pleasure, I mean, I would say that, but honestly, just didn't really go how I thought it would entering. I feel almost more drained leaving than I did when I got here. If that makes sense.
That's
like
exactly it. I feel
it's
drained,
just,
and I shouldn't.
And I really don't want the narrative that so many people are saying. Like, so many of my friends are saying to me, "Well, it's just your only season. You haven't got any trophies, and next season you'll be back to old Arsenal." And I don't want that. So I'm hoping, like with the positivity we just heard, like hopefully, this summer we can actually do something with it.
Frederick says, James, you're delusional. We are not going to be challenging for titles. Well, then, if that's how you feel, Frederick, well, then enjoy this. Enjoy being second. Enjoy the fact we even did. Because you can't have it both ways. You can't always say you're delusional or your standards aren't up there, whatever. I demand that this team challenge for titles year in, year out. They've got to that level now. Build on it. And there'll be some years where it doesn't happen, but there are 4 competitions. Be competitive, Arsenal. That's all the Arsenal fans ask. That's why we've loved this team this year, because they have been competitive. It's been a really poor end to the season, but there have been positives. And like I said, we will cover them on AFTV at some point. And we have already in so many other ways. Anyway, all right, we'll leave it there. Big thanks to everyone who's joined us. Hit the like button if you enjoyed this stream. Been going an hour. Thank you to all the callers. Download AFTV Plus so that you can join us and have your say, not just on this show, but on FANZONE that occurs during the week as well. I did a Friday stream last night with Robbie, and there are Monday streams as well. Go check out all the t-shirts, merch, mugs, jumpers, sweatshirts, all that in the link below as well. Go support the players, because sometimes you don't want to wear Arsenal merch, but you just want to wear something that's Arsenal, that isn't Arsenal merch. If you get what I mean?
More casual. There we go.
I need to go and find some casual in my today because I'm still wound up and it's a Saturday night. So don't let it ruin your weekend. Go check out all the AFTV content if you do want more. And if you don't, well, we'll see you Monday as we react to everything and look ahead to our final game of the season. Maybe more transfer news. See you soon. Many thanks.